Newscope, our daily news program of in-depth report, interviews and commentaries. First, the highlight. Osun governorship poll holds amid allegations of violence, vote buying and vote intimidation.
Soldiers in northwest Nigeria neutralize over 160 terrorists in 1 week.
ASU tasked federal government on implementation of 2025 agreement.
38 killed in Indonesia earthquake.
And now the details. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has accused the police of aiding alleged attempt by the All Progressives Congress APC to intimidate voters and manipulate today's governorship election in the state. The governor Adeleke made the allegations while speaking to journalists shortly after casting his vote in Ede, alleging that some security personnel were used to disrupt voting in parts of the state. The governor further alleged that a police officer from Port Harcourt, whom he identified by the nickname London, was brought to Ede to disrupt the election. He also raised concerns about the collation of results, insisting that election results should follow the established process from polling units to wards and then local government areas before reaching the state level. The governor Adeleke, who is seeking re-election, accused the APC of attempting to introduce fake ballot papers into the election.
Meanwhile, the African Democratic Congress ADC candidate in the Osun State governorship election, Najim Salam, has alleged that some of the party's agents were denied accreditation tags by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. He said this happened across several local government areas, describing the development as worrisome and disturbing. Mr. Salam said the names of ADC's agents had been uploaded on the INEC platform ahead of the election. Questioning INEC's preparations, the ADC candidate said failure to issue tags to agents whose name had been submitted raised concerns about the credibility of the process. The ADC candidate also denied allegations that his party was involved in vote buying.
In the meantime, voting was disrupted in Ejigbo, Osun State, following an outbreak of violence at a polling area during today's governorship election. Trouble reportedly started after a youth discovered materials alleged to be linked to vote buying and belonging to one of the major contending political parties. According to the youth, he and others seized the material because they could not stand by and watch what they described as an illegal activity taking place. The situation was said to have escalated when individuals said to be associated with the materials arrived at the scene and allegedly attempted to whisk the youth away. Tension subsequently heightened, forcing voters, residents and officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to scamper for safety as people fled the polling area.
The deputy governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC in the ongoing Osun State governorship election, Kayode Adereti, says he was impressed with the voter turnout today. Mr. Adereti also commended the security arrangements and the smooth operation of the bimodal voter accreditation system during the poll. He spoke after casting his vote at Ward 11, Unit 3, Ilare, in the Ife Central Local Government area of the state. According to him, the electoral process was peaceful, with voters turning out in large numbers to exercise their civic responsibility. He also expressed satisfaction with the performance of the BVAS machines, saying the accreditation process was progressing smoothly and that voters appeared satisfied with the conduct of the election.
The senator representing Osun East Senatorial District, Francis Fadansi, today urged supporters at his polling unit in Oluyole to monitor the choices made by voters during today's governorship election. A viral video showed the APC chieftain addressing supporters at polling unit 1 NUD Primary School, which also serves as a collation center in Oluyole. Speaking in Yoruba, Senator Fadansi was heard telling those at the polling unit to watch the candidates voters were thumbprinting for. He said whoever votes for who is or she is not supposed to vote for is not a true indigene of Ijesha. Recall that Senator Fadansi had come under heavy criticism over a video in which he allegedly issued threats against members of the Accord Party ahead of today's election. His latest comment today at the polling unit has also drawn widespread public criticism.
The Osun State Police Command has arrested an officer posted to the Registration Area Center in Modakeke Ward 10, Ife East Local Government Area. This followed the accidental discharge of tear gas that sparked panic during today's governorship election. The command's response followed viral video clips on social media depicting a chaotic scene in Modakeke, where onlookers alleged unprovoked tear gas firing at a polling unit. Reacting via an official statement on X today, the command debunked claims that police operatives deliberately targeted voters at a polling unit to disrupt the electoral process. The statement clarified that the incident took place at the registration area center rather than a voting center, describing it as an act of personal negligence.
Now, away from Osun State, the military says troops conducting coordinated air and ground operations under the Operation Fansan Yama neutralized more than 160 terrorists in the past week. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, who disclosed this today, also announced the recovery of about 300 motorcycles. General Onoja said the air component of Operation Fansan Yama engaged the terrorists with rocket and cannon fire, disrupting their movements and activities. A folder revealed that in a separate operation on the 13th of August, the air components conducted armed reconnaissance around Mambuya in the Mariga local government area after detecting a large group of terrorists moving with rustled cattle. General Noja said aircraft was subsequently deployed with onboard weapon systems along the Kanjing-Daban-Woko axis, resulting in the neutralization of 46 terrorists.
Similarly, troops of the 162 Amphibious Battalion foiled an attempted ISWAP attack on their location at the Forward Operating Base at Mandaragiro in the Biu local government area of Borno State. The incident led to the neutralization of many ISWAP terrorists with the recovery of a cache of arms and ammunition. This was disclosed in a press statement issued today by the Acting Media Information Officer, Headquarters, Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hardin Kai, Captain Mohammed Goni in Maiduguri. The statement noted that on detecting the advancing terrorists from emplaced early warning and surveillance system, a combat team was dispatched to intercept them. There was a heavy exchange of fire during which the combat team decisively defeated the attackers. The statement added that the second group of terrorists attempted to bypass the ambush team and infiltrate the camp, but they were equally met with superior firepower and successfully defeated.
This broadcast of Newscope comes to you from the Broadcasting Corporation of Oluyole State, Ibadan. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has renewed its demand for the payment of withheld salaries and the resolution of other outstanding welfare issues affecting university lecturers. The union warned that the federal government must address the grievances to ensure stability in Nigeria's public universities. ASU President Professor Christopher Piruna stated this on Friday while briefing journalists at the ASU Secretariat of the University of Jos in Plateau State. Professor Piruna said the government must urgently address all outstanding issues of academic staff welfare and matters arising from the federal government of Nigeria ASU agreement of December 2025. He said the resolution of the issues was critical to restoring confidence among university lecturers and creating the conditions necessary for effective teaching, research, and learning.
In the meantime, the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, has said no child should be denied access to quality education because of different circumstances. The Commission stressed that every Nigerian child deserves an opportunity to learn, develop their abilities, and fulfill their potential. Executive Secretary of UBEC, Dr. Aisha Garba, stated this during the formal commissioning of the rehabilitated Alternative High School for Girls, Agboju, Lagos State. The intervention comes against the backdrop of persistent challenges affecting access to basic and secondary education in Nigeria. She said the establishment of alternative learning pathways is particularly important for girls and young women who leave school because of pregnancy, early marriage, family responsibilities, or other circumstances.
As the rising cost of food continues to squeeze households' income, foodstuff vendors are adopting flexible sale method to accommodate consumers with varying purchasing power. From cutting tubers of yam into smaller portions to measuring pepper, vegetables, and other food items according to what customers can afford, this approach is helping vendors retain patronage while enabling buyers to manage their limited budgets. Our reporter Awao Ibrahim has more in the special reports.
With food prices continue to put pressure on household budgets, market vendors are finding new ways to keep their businesses running while making their products accessible to consumers. Rather than insisting on bulk purchases, some vendors now sell food items in quantities that correspond with the amount available in customers' pockets. Yam, pepper, palm oil, vegetables and other staples can now be purchased in a smaller portion, giving consumers the flexibility to buy according to their immediate needs and financial capacity. For instance, a tuber of yam can be cut into smaller portions, while pepper and vegetables are measured based on customers' budgets. For many consumers, the practice provides some relief, allowing them to put food on table without spending beyond their means. The vendors say the strategy has been in use for some time, adding that it helps them retain customers and sustain regular patronage. They also explain that selling in smaller quantities does not necessarily translate to lower profits, as it enables them to serve more customers and maintain steady sales.
Torí àwọn tí wọ́n lágbára láti ra ní ńlá irú eléyìí ní sí 2000 láta wọ́n láwọn lágbára ẹlòmíì fẹ́ ro ní 1000 kò sì sílé 1000 la fi ń gé. Òjò tó ọ̀dà náà lójú lójú gbogbo ẹ̀wọ̀n wọn kò tí ń ta gbogbo pátá àná ń ta àrídẹ́ẹ̀dẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ àná sì ti sowó oúnjẹ. A ní wẹ́wẹ́ a ní ńlá a ní tó pọ̀ léra wọn a ló ń 3 a ló ń 2 a ló ń 25 a lè lo 5 a ló ń 6.
Nǹkan tá a fi máa ń di ẹ̀ka yẹn sí náírà ni pé àwọn èèyàn ò bóyá ó cheap ju sìntà máa ń lé sí ilẹ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀ ló jẹ́ ká máa dì sí láìlọ́ fún ọmọ kó kiri lọ.
Some buyers equally say the flexible pricing and portioning have made shopping more manageable, especially as the cost of basic food items continue to weigh heavily on household finances. However, vendors say the rising cost of transporting and purchasing goods from suppliers remain a major challenge, limiting their ability to keep prices down. For consumers and vendors alike, selling food according to individual budgets has therefore become more a business strategy. It is increasingly a practical response to realities of the current market. As household purchasing power continues to face pressure, some adaptation may remain crucial in helping both traders and consumers cope with the rising cost of living. Awao Ibrahim, BCOS News.
Let's now go over to our sports studio for the latest updates from the exciting world of sports.
Good evening and welcome to the sports segment of the news. I am Oluyole.
We'll start with basketball as the Nigeria's Junior D Tigers have booked their place in the final of the FIBA Under-18 Women's Afro-Basket after edging Cote d'Ivoire 53-50 in a closely contested semi-final on Friday night. The hard-fought victory secured Nigeria a spot in the championship game, where they will face Mali in a repeat of the previous final. Nigeria will be seeking their first ever Under-18 Women's Afro-Basket title, while defending champions Mali will be aiming for a record 9th continental crown. Mali are also targeting a third consecutive title, setting up a highly anticipated final between two familiar opponents. The Junior D Tigers will hope to end Mali's dominance and secure a maiden continental championship. From basketball to football, Shooting Stars Sports Club have appointed former Super Eagles coach Salisu Yusuf as their new technical advisor ahead of the 2026-2027 Nigeria Premier Football League season. His appointment comes a few days after Shooting Stars parted ways with head coach Nuruddin Awero and members of his technical team. Awero, team manager Tami Tamino, and assistant coach Shakiri Lawal left the club by mutual agreement, bringing an end to Awero's tenure after a highly successful 2025-2026 campaign. The Ibadan-based club announced Yusuf's appointment in a statement, describing the experienced tactician as a valuable addition to its technical setup, as the Oluyole Warriors prepare for a new campaign that will include continental football. He returned to the NPFL after ending a spell with Benin Republic club Cotton FC in June. He joined the club in August 2025 and guided them to a second-place finish in the Benin's top flight before both parties mutually agreed to end their relationship. At the international level, Salisu Yusuf had been involved with several Nigerian national teams. He served as an assistant coach of the Super Eagles and also handled the Super Eagles B and Nigeria under-23 teams. From NPFL to the national team, Super Falcons head coach Justin Madugu has attributed Nigeria's failure to qualify for the FIFA Women's World Cup to missed chance, individual errors, and lapses in concentration during their playoff defeat to South Africa in Casablanca. The defeat means the Super Falcons will miss the FIFA Women's World Cup for the first time since the competition was inaugurated in 1991. He apologized to Nigerians following the setback, insisting that disappointing the country was never the team's intention. He said the Falcons gave their best but acknowledged that the efforts were not enough to secure qualification. Justin Madugu described the decisive mistakes as individual errors in decision-making and argued that greater concentration and adherence to the game plan could have prevented the outcome. With their World Cup hopes now over, the Super Falcons will turn their attention to the next assignment, the 2028 Olympic qualifiers, which are scheduled to begin in October. Finally, from the world of football, former Slovenia goalkeeper Jimmy Rima, a member of the club's historic 1982 European Cup winning side, has died at the age of 78. Rima, who enjoyed a distinguished career spanning more than 2 decades and became one of the few players to win the European Cup with 2 different English clubs. He began his senior career with Manchester United and was part of the squad that won the European Cup in 1968, although he did not play in the final against Benfica. Later moved to Arsenal before joining Aston Villa, where he established
At least 38 people have been killed after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Indonesia earlier today. The official death toll has been rising as search and rescue operations went underway, while the country's news agency reports several people injured degrees. Foreign desk editor Folasade Akintola compiled details of the Indonesia disaster and other news from across the globe. Bimba Kobi presents a report.
These 38 people have been killed after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Indonesia early on Saturday. The nation's disaster mitigation agency has said the official death toll has been rising as a search and rescue operation gets underway. The BNBP agency said several people have been injured to varying degrees. Buildings in the region have been damaged by the quake and the dozens of aftershocks that followed. The quake struck the island of Flores shortly before 5:00 local time on Saturday, that is about 2200 GMT on Friday. It had a depth of 15 kilometers, Indonesia's Meteorology and Geophysics Agency stated. Videos taken at the port in Maumere showed large chunks of concrete breaking off the terminal building onto passengers waiting to board an inter-island ferry. Some were thrown into the sea when the gangway to a ship collapsed. Emmanuel Melkaides Lakalena, governor of East Nusa Tenggara province, told a news conference that people were killed in their sleep by collapsing rubble. A stream of people could be seen moving inland on motorbikes after authorities issued a tsunami warning. BNBP said 2,000 people have been evacuated or relocated on their own. Meanwhile, Venezuela says it has freed 131 people considered political prisoners in a sign of progress for national reconciliation following the United States removal of former President Nicolas Maduro. Those released had been granted alternative measures from incarceration under the Program for Peace and Democratic Coexistence, the country's interim government said. Opposition movement Venezuela said it had independently verified the release of 43 detainees, and the Foro Penal Rights Group, which advocates for the release of alleged political prisoners, said at least 40 had been freed. United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the recent release of more than 130 political prisoners in Venezuela is a crucial step for the nation's reconciliation process. Since the United States overthrew and detained Maduro on January 3 this year, 1,046 Venezuelans have been released, Rubio added on X. Venezuela is now being governed by Maduro's former deputy, Delcy Rodriguez, with significant influence from Washington. Former prisoners were seen reuniting with their families in emotional scenes outside El Radio 1 prison in Guatire, 50 kilometers, that is about 31 miles east of the capital, Caracas. Foro Penal said that 17 women have been freed on Friday, including one accused of women have been freed on Friday, including one accused of participating in an assassination plot against Maduro. And finally, 7 people were killed in an Israeli-done airstrike in southern Lebanon on Saturday, Lebanon State News Agency said. 3 others were injured when Israeli planes struck a house in the southern village of Ansar, Lebanon's national news agency said. The strike is one of the deadliest attacks on Lebanon in the weeks since it agreed to a US-mediated peace framework with Israel. The terms leave Israeli troops inside the occupied southern Lebanon until Hezbollah is disarmed and the Lebanese army takes control, terms the Iran-backed militia has rejected as surrender. In a statement, the Israeli military said it struck Hezbollah infrastructure overnight in what it described as a security zone in South Lebanon in response to actions against its soldiers. Israel's military seized a swath of South Lebanon during a war with Hezbollah earlier this year, which was triggered when the group fired at Israel 2 days into the US-Israeli war on Iran. Israel has said it will keep its forces there to shield northern Israel from further attacks. During a visit to South Lebanon on Thursday, Defense Minister Israel Katz said Israel will not withdraw from the regions until Hezbollah is disarmed. Bimbo Akombi, BCUS News.
To end this edition of Newscope, here again are the main points. Citizens and residents of Osun State went to the polls in today's governorship election amid allegations of violence, vote buying, and voter intimidation.
The military says troops conducting coordinated air and ground operations under Operation Fansan Yama neutralized more than 160 terrorists in the past week.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has renewed its demand for the payment of withheld salaries and the resolution of other outstanding welfare issues affecting university lecturers.
At least 38 people have been killed after a 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Indonesia early today.
If you see something suspicious, alert the authorities immediately for timely response. Be vigilant. That's all from Newscope Desk for now. It was packaged by Tola Teriba and delivered by
Tabitha Komolafe
and Oluyole. Thanks for listening, and do not forget to tune in for the Yoruba version at 8 p.m. Good evening.